My name is Drew, and I'm the Aspiring Master, and welcome to the Aspiring Master Presents. This is a show where we talk about the meanings, misunderstandings, and insights about the important words we use and misuse on a daily basis. Really understanding what we're truly meaning when we talk allows us to convey and explain ourselves better to others. This not only allows us clearer communication so we can get what we need quicker and with less stress, but also helps us understand ourselves in more depth than we thought possible. On our show today, I would like to welcome my special guest, Talia Wilson, my wife, and we will be continuing our discussion on the word good. The last one was good. They should be good too.
I think that good should not be equated to evil at all. I think evil is not really even the baddest bad.
I think it's happened through written work, especially all the classic, the hero's journey, good versus evil, type thing. And that's where that got equated.
Yeah, but they're saying they're saying nobility versus evil, or right?
Nobility?
Well, I mean, to be noble, to be moral, noble, yeah. to me.
I don't even think morality should come into it, because you can be a good person without having morals.
Would it be perfection and evil, right? I know we're getting into a discussion that's a little bit off where we are. I think that we're going to.
But again, people have different opinions about what
perfection is. Right? I agree exactly. And I always said that I wish my name was Nobody, because he's perfect. Okay, so
sorry, girls, I saw him first.
Yeah. So back to good and bad. I think that bad first off has a bad rap. I used the word twice. It's almost like a double negative. Bad has has horrible connotations because of our training. As we've talked about before, when we were bad, it was reinforced that we were inferior, not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Again, not good enough comes into this.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, especially when it comes to like self-esteem and developing, the sense of self as you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting told all the time that you're bad, you're not going to develop a very good sense of self.
When we're talking about bad, and we're talking about bad in people, I personally think that we should get rid of it and go mistaken. Now, there's people that do things intentionally to get certain responses and actions and reactions, and we call those people purely bad people.
Or narcissists.
Right? Narcissists. And narcissists aren't even bad when you understand their motivation, right? They're just bad to hang around because they're detrimental to you, right? It has nothing to do with them. We know that narcissists...
That's not what they think.
Oh, of course not. But again, narcissists are it's an extreme fear, really, is what it presents as. And narcissism is, I can't be afraid, so I have to be perfect. And so in order for me to be perfect, I have to think I'm perfect. I've got to, and if other people don't think I'm perfect, well, that's too bad. And I get what I want.
To me, it makes me think of like the whole bipolar, manic, depressive. If they're up, they're up. If they're down, they're really down, and they want to drag everyone down with them.
Yeah. But it's so when we talk about bad people, I think that we have to say bad people for us to hang out with, right? Because then we accept the responsibility. We're not placing this condemnational judgment on people for being and behaving the way that they're behaving. The behaviors are bad and not conducive to where I want to go.
Exactly. It's like, as a kid hanging around with my parents, my sisters were, growing out of the house, they would go hang out with their friends. Usually I would come along, not always, I mean, it's like having the friends that maybe aren't appropriate for your kids to be around, either because they swear too much or they smoke or whatever, as I'm saying that, I'm going, oh yeah, they smoked and they swore and people I was around, but it's that kind of idea, I wouldn't bring, my niece and nephew around certain friends because they were kind of jerky, toward kids, you know,
Mm-hmm.
type thing. But I didn't consider them bad people. It was just someone you didn't want to hang out with all the time, you
Right.
know. It's like trying to if you take, you know, say one of your disc golf friends and invite him to dinner with, say, when we have our best friend over, you know, we don't know if they're going to clash, you know, or if that's either one because, oh, there's this other dude here who's kind of weird and oh, all he wants to talk about is disc golf, or this guy over here and all he wants to talk about is personal growth and, you know, fantasy sci-fi stuff. And it's like, and we're in between going, we like you both equally, you
Yeah.
know, type thing. But that's the kind of thing. I mean, you wouldn't bring all your disc golf buddies, you know, say on your show here
No.
because maybe they're not into personal growth.
Well,
Whereas your best friend is to a point, and you know,
well, I mean, when we're talking about bad, right, and judging,
yeah, yeah,
right, like we make judgments all the time. By the way,
yeah,
everybody, you can't not make judgments. You do. You make judgments based on where you need to be in your life and what is moving you forward and propelling you forward. And bad and good as a judgment, when you understand what you're doing, when you're utilizing bad and good, and how you can attach what emotions are attached to what you're saying. And I think that that's the whole point of this, is to really take a look at what are you saying, how are you feeling when you say it, and what does it really mean, right?
yes,
So
yeah.
when we're talking
It's
about,
definitely taking personal responsibility for how you feel, what you think about how you're feeling, what you're saying, and the intent behind what you're saying. Because
right,
you can feel bad and still make, oh, I'm good, I'm this, that, and act
right.
happy when you're really low. And the opposite, you can
Well,
act angry when you're not angry.
Well, I
You
mean,
know,
and reinforced by the feeling that we are bad as people
yeah,
because we did bad things, or we behaved badly in accordance to somebody else. It's not really in accordance to us, because otherwise, if we thought
we
that was
wouldn't
a
have
bad
done it.
behavior, we probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah,
Um, or it was just way too pleasurable to not do, right? Um, but, right? Um,
gratuitous sex.
no, but so when we're talking about good and bad, and when we're talking about it in accordance to, and I think that, like, I mean, we basically covered most of the bases. I think that I want to reiterate a bunch of things. First off, good is not fantastic. It's not, it's not great. It's good. It's basically adequate.
Yeah,
And it's adequate in a space where it's something we like, right? We like it. We're not
yeah,
over the top. We're not in love with it, but we like it, right? Um, Bad is the other side of it. It is inadequate. It is something that we don't like. And we have so many really, really horrible connotations to the word bad, that and actions and reactions, that we totally avoid bad. But the truth is, we label mistakes as bad, and I think that is one of our major ass problems
yeah.
in society in general.
Well,
Because
you can't learn unless you try, and if you try and you're not successful,
yeah,
you
it's
know,
just, you're
it's
going to
like
be
everybody
mistaken.
makes mistakes. That doesn't make people inherently bad,
Right.
you
But
know?
we're treated
Yeah,
as if they
yeah.
are, right?
And
It's
but
sort of like,
again, making mistakes is how a person learns. It's like, okay, so someone makes a mistake, you're basically telling them, you know, oh, you shouldn't have tried it, or you shouldn't have tried it that way, or
oh God, you're stupid, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
I
that
mean,
that
it's like you're
whole,
basically telling them as a an entire, like, as a person, as a self, that they're wrong.
right. Well, and
And
reinforce this way later,
who has the right to do that?
right?
Like, seriously,
And
I
it
mean, even teachers, it's like, why would you tell someone that they're stupid and they're never going to go to college or whatever? It's like, why would you do that? You know, I I'm generalizing. So
yeah. Well, and why again, we are mistaking mistaken with bad, because bad, again, I believe that bad is either we don't like it or it is not conducive to the goals of where we wish to go. Really, I think that that is where bad should sit, right?
We the individual, or we as
a society,
society.
as like, I think that's both. I would love to be as a society, but I think that we're talking individuals here.
Yeah.
So we as individuals have to take a look and say, bad is not mistaken. Okay. Sometimes we have bad results from mistakes. Absolutely. Okay. I've mistakenly locked my keys in the car and had to pay somebody to come and get them out. Right. Okay. I've mistaken those. Now, when I lock the keys in my car, here's the things that go through my head. Oh, what a stupid. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Oh, I'm just such a horrible person. The truth is, I do think that I'm a horrible person because I locked the keys in the car. Instead of going, oh, I was mistaken. Okay, we gotta phone those guys. We're doing that. But here's the reinforcement. When you do that, and you call your partner and say, oh, I locked my keys in my car. It's like you get the judgment coming from them. Oh, I can't believe how stupid you are. Blah, blah, blah. You get all of that judgment.
Have fun with that, honey.
Yeah. But there's so many times that you get that judgment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I remember.
And punished.
I was driving my dad's car off and on. And my best friend and I were in downtown Portland, and I locked the keys in the car. And having to, as we're trying to have dinner, I'm looking out the window, I'm running outside, waiting for the locksmith, in a city that, didn't have as much crime as it does now. But at the same time, it's like, you don't want to leave your keys in your car in downtown Portland, But knowing when I got home, I'm going to get yelled at, because, whoa, did they damage my car? It's like, oh my God, no, they didn't. Right. These guys know what they're doing. But at the same time, it's like, it's such a judgment of how stupid are you that you can't remember to grab your keys.
And again, being mistaken is treated as if you are a bad person. And it's not even, it really isn't bad. When we look at the definitions that I've just said, bad is unconducive to where you want to go. Well, I guess you could equate that would be bad for, I want to go home, but I can't because the keys are locked in the car, right? Yeah. So we can do that. We can equate that and say that was bad. But I think that we have to judge the outcomes rather than the situations. It was a mistake. Yeah. You mistakenly left your keys in your car. And you locked the door and you went, And the only thing that you should be upset about in that situation, and I say should, right? Don't watch the show Should yet. But the only thing that we should be really taking away from that is, oh, crap, it's going to take so much time to do this, right? It's going to cut into my day and I'm going to have to cancel this. Yeah. Those things are legitimate concerns, but I'm a bad person. I'm horrible for locking my keys in the car. And then having somebody reiterate that to you on the phone or whatever. You go, hey, I locked my keys in the car. Oh, I can't believe you locked it. Now all of a sudden it's reinforcing that whole idea that I'm dumb and stupid and not worthy. And
well, here's another example. When I was in college and I had to meet some people in my class to plan a project we were doing, and I needed to get gas, and I was going to run up the freeway to go get an outfit because we were having a band concert that night or something. So I was going to go buy that, come back to town, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so I meet with my friend. I get done. I get on the freeway, and just when I remember, oh, crap, I didn't get gas, my car died. Ran out of gas on the interstate. So I pull over. Luckily, it was probably 2001, so we did have a cell phone. I called my dad and said, oops, I'm really sorry. He goes, oh, okay. I'll be there as soon as I can, and I'll call your brother-in-law because I think he has the right gas can, and you can just take my car and do your stuff, and I'll see you tonight.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
was not angry. I know he was inconvenienced, but it was around the time he got off work. It was around the time my brother-in-law was going to be home. Um, he knew he'd get his car back that night. I could still go do my stuff. And yeah, it was weird because, I was expecting him to be so angry, to be so, momentarily brain dead that I forget to gas my
Right.
car.
Well, and
But at the
maybe
same time,
maybe
a
he's
good
been through
lesson
that.
because,
He's been through that before, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
Oh,
but
God.
maybe he's been through that before and really empathizes with it. Who knows?
Well,
Um,
it's like the things that your kids, whatever age, will still do stupid stuff from time to time. It was like Dad tells a story. Um, his family was having a reunion somewhere, and on the way there, my grandpa had made a comment about how, oh, the brakes were squeaky or something like that. Something was going on. He was gonna have to work on the car. Well, Dad and his cousin Chuck, trying to be helpful, took apart the engine. And my grandpa's like, what? I mean, momentarily just like, what? But then, like Dad said, he's like, he just smiled because, he couldn't get mad because he knew we were only trying to help at the same time, created more work for him when he wasn't prepared to really work on his car, you know? So, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, sometimes when we're trying to do good and help people, like gets reiterated to us as we're
mhm.
growing, we end up making a bigger mistake, you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, assistance can absolutely be misconstrued as bad. But again,
Yeah.
these are all utilizing good and bad as judgments
Yeah.
about people. You can use them as judgments about situations when you really do equate that good is like, I like it, it's pleasurable, it's adequate, um, and bad is unlikable, inadequate, not where I want to go, right? So,
Right.
but when you do that to people, you categorize people in those categories, you are basically saying that this person is unworthy of being alive. And you're reinforcing exactly that our parents had enforced in us because that's how we were trained to behave, right? Um, and I think that good and bad should be sort of equated to food, right? Or a situation, right? We can judge a situation that's good or
Yeah.
bad based on what we're doing, but to judge people per se is you can say, well, he's a bad person. I said, okay, what does a bad person constitute? Where are the rules for this? What
Right.
is it that you're saying really? Are you just saying I feel that they're inferior to me? Is that what you're saying? Or are you just going by rote by your parents' idea of what bad is and how to treat badness and how to judge people as bad? And I think
Yeah.
that we lose a little bit of our humanity when we do that. I think that we distance ourselves from each other when we do that.
Mm.
I say, you know what? There are some of your behaviors as my wife that I find objectionable. Okay. And when I say objectionable, I don't think they're bad. They're just behaviors, right?
Yeah. Well,
That,
there's
that,
plenty of stuff you do that makes me want to punch you in the face.
yeah, well, that's because I'm face punchable. But,
Yeah.
um,
No, that's
anyway,
Kyle. No,
yeah, okay. But,
sorry, Kyle.
yeah,
No, it's like, yeah, you do some stuff that I just go, what? But again, it comes back to, we have different parents, obviously. We're raised differently, obviously. We were
mhm,
raised in different countries, for crying out loud. Um, so we're going to have different ideas of what is acceptable, unacceptable, livable, unlivable type thing. And at the same time, yeah, I may want to punch you in the face. Doesn't mean I don't love you. Doesn't mean I don't like you. I may not like you in that moment, But overall, so that would be an example of a, I guess I wouldn't even want to use the word bad situation.
You've done an unacceptable thing, or
yeah,
a thing that I find
a
objectionable.
thing I dislike.
Yeah,
You've done a thing I dislike.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've done a thing I dislike. That doesn't mean that you are dislikable,
No.
right? That
maybe
you
in that
are.
moment.
Like, I mean,
But
I
it's
dislike
like-
you now, but I
Yeah.
won't. I understand that overall you are a person of integrity. Would probably be the best way to describe it, right?
So that's what you tell yourself every day.
Yes, that's exactly what I tell myself.
Difference between what I'm talking about on an acceptance level is to embrace it and completely, and it's not so much understand it, but welcome it into your life for what it is, as opposed to tolerating it, which means that you're pissed off at it or you hold a negative emotion towards it, but you'll just put that over to the side. And that too is a form of control. You have to control it. And if you have to control something, it has control of you. A master has no need to control, but has the ability to accept things as they are, and then choose to find the truest expression of themselves and follow that, no matter what the evidence points to what they should be doing.
But I mean, I'm trying to describe it
Yeah,
in terms of emotion, right?
Yeah.
This is a person of integrity, somebody that I understand is not out to get me.
Yeah,
right?
But when you're angry, you're in that emotion. You cannot think rationally. You're not going to respond rationally.
Yeah.
Which is why you should not discuss important stuff when you're angry.
Right.
Because guess what? You're just going to say stuff you don't actually mean.
And a lot of the
times... Or maybe you might mean in that moment, but not overall.
Right. And a lot of the times in those situations, you are making that kind of judgment of that person is a bad person, because anger just goes to the extreme.
Exactly.
When you're in anger, you want to go to the extreme. The extreme is always the place that you go. And so you go, he's a bad person, as opposed to, no. And then afterwards you go, no. He's not a bad person. He just did something that I don't like. Right? I literally don't like it. It interferes with my day or whatever that is. And so I'll go to that extreme.
Yeah. But then at the same time, you're still responsible for your reaction to whatever it is that you did.
I agree.
But which makes me want to say that at the same time, if you're constantly being told, especially as a kid, that you're a bad kid, are you responsible for how you react in the future?
Well, I mean,
when you've been told, and that is your sense of self, that I am a bad person based on what everyone around me told me.
This is something that we haven't really discussed, but when you say, if you were created a narcissist, right? Okay. This can be said for everybody. You can't just equate it to people that you would like it to equate it to. This has to be across the board. When you take a look at a narcissist that has been trained to be a narcissist by narcissists, is that person responsible? Of course they are. Everybody's responsible for what they are and who they are and how they wish to change. If it works for them, that's great. And you're responsible.
Also to reiterate that everyone as a child is a narcissist. You know, the childhood narcissism. That's just the way kids are, how they're wired. It's as you progress into your tween years, whatever, So labeling someone as a narcissist, I would call that more of an extreme label. Because at some point we've all been narcissistic. Absolutely. Everyone has portrayed those behaviors. It's, do they Is that where the person lives? Do they live in those behaviors? Do they perpetuate
Well,
that stuff upon other people?
absolutely, they can, and we can take a look at narcissism, and we can take a look at all of that stuff.
Yeah, I know.
And are they responsible? Absolutely, they're responsible,
Mhm.
because everybody's responsible for everything they do.
And then
And
there's
take a look at Responsibility if you haven't seen that show.
Yeah, and then there's the other argument: are they just a product of their environment?
Right. Well, and there's lots of people, and we all are to a very great degree.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, becoming conscious, when you start to become conscious of yourself, right? The why you do things, that's what this show is all about, to get
Mm-hmm.
to create consciousness around it. And so you start to become conscious of those things. All of a sudden, you see behaviors that everybody's been responding and reacting to for years,
Yeah.
and telling you about, that you couldn't see or hear because you just didn't have any reference, really, internally. It's just the way things are, right? But all of a sudden, something lights up that light for you, and you go, whoa, wait a minute. Well, once you recognize that and discover it for yourself, you can change it. You can be more proactively responsible, as opposed to just being responsible.
Say you're out to dinner with somebody, and I don't know, maybe a fly lands in their food, or doesn't taste right, or the chef used the wrong ingredient, and they send it back. Sorry. And they
You
send
said a
it
fly
back.
landed in your food, it doesn't taste right. And I'm like, that fly doesn't taste right. Oh my goodness. This fly that was in my soup does not taste right.
A little background there. I actually had a fly land in my French fries one time, and it did not leave. And the waitress said, "Oh, how's everything going?" It's like, this bug won't leave my food. Oh, we'll bring you some more. And it's like, I didn't even ask for it. It just kind of happened. So that's why I use that as an example. But don't lean back like that. You look green. There you go. Okay. Say you're out with someone having dinner, and they find their food not quite to their liking, so they send it back. And say this is your favorite restaurant. You've tried almost everything on the menu. You love it. You've never had a bad meal. The people there know you, and you get massively embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, but why are you embarrassed?
Mm-hmm.
Are you embarrassed because you're afraid these people in a restaurant, who are only in your life because you go to their restaurant, are going to judge you because you brought in someone who complained? Like, there's probably been, I don't know how many times, where you've gone out to eat and it has been not quite right or wrong, or you accidentally ordered the wrong thing and didn't realize it. But did you send it back? No, you just kind of, whatever. But at the same time, if someone is eating dinner with you and being, I don't know how you can eat that. Ugh, I sent mine back. It's gross. You don't have to. Are you going to engage with that? Is that going to, is your food suddenly going to taste bad because somebody next to you is complaining about it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. When you become aware, you can choose whether or not to engage. You can choose, okay, does this really affect me? Should I feel bad? And it's like, if it doesn't affect you, why would you bother? But, people feel bad on behalf of other people, or they have secondhand embarrassment. Like, why?
Okay, well, I mean, here we're going to go into another area on responsibility. When you say, are you responsible first off for other people's behaviors? Absolutely not. You're only responsible for your own.
Right.
Are you making other people responsible for your emotional reactions to them? That's the question. And yes, when you say it's their fault because they're narcissists, and instead of you going, those are narcissists, I'm going to stay away.
Yeah.
Right? That's the responsibility, right? You can say narcissists aren't bad people. No. They're just narcissists. And they are great in the environment that they hang out in. I do not want to be a part of that. That's fine.
Well, and the other thing, too, is this isn't about general complaining about narcissists or other people or the way they act. It's like going home after work, after a long day at work, and just, oh, it was so terrible. The guy next to me was being a total doink the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
Okay. there's nothing wrong with venting. Venting is healthy. It helps you process through your thoughts. It gets stuff out so you're not sitting on it and stewing on it. You know, that's different. It's not like, that's still not unless you're complaining to their face, you know, and venting to their face. You're not engaging with those behaviors in that moment, you know.
Well, and I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. I'm going to actually, I think that we're just sort of paving over some things.
Yeah,
so
we got I think, really onto bad, and we were supposed to talk about
that's okay, but that's fine with where it went. So what I want to do is I just want to kind of sum up where we went with this episode.
Question first.
Sure.
If you're doing good as like, how does that equate with love?
We can't. We can't. Because really good does not have anything to do with love. It really doesn't. When you take a look at it, we equate it, absolutely. Right. We've equated that. But I don't think that it has anything to do with it. Good has nothing to do with love unless you are talking about like a thing. That is good. That is something I approve of. Or about a taste. That's a good pizza. Taste. I love pizza. That, again, if you're using love in that respect, then that equates. But when you're talking about the emotion of love has nothing to do with good. Good is likable, right? And good, it's like and love, right? People confuse them all the time. Good does not even equate to love. Love is something completely its own category. Good, you could say, well, good could be a gradient of love. If you want to treat it that way, you can, but I don't think that it really sits in that category. No. So to reiterate, good, I like it. It's not over the top. It's not great. It's not fantastic. And herein lies the understanding of consciousness. Because consciousness means that you understand what you are doing, and you understand how what you're doing affects others. You understand how it produces things for yourself. You understand the mechanics of what it is that you do all the time. Now, this has been another version of what they say is, well, you're manipulating. No, you aren't. And yes, you are. All at the same time. So, if I am doing it from a malicious standpoint, then I would say, yes, it's manipulating. I'm doing it just, because I can control you. So that to me would be manipulation. And that's not something that I do. I look at a situation and I say, okay, these are the possible outcomes of what's happening. Now, what is it that I choose to express of who I am in this situation, who I wish to be, and how do I wish this to come out? Adequately likable would probably be the way that I would describe good.
Okay. Quick detour.
Yep.
You and I, we say I like you more than we say I love you.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this just, last week. Okay. I would not be I don't worry about, whether or not you love me, when we argue. All I care about is, do you like me? But in that sense is like good is like equating to adequate.
Right. No. Okay. It really isn't.
I just want to clear that up.
No. When you're talking about
this, but now
when you're talking about people, right? As human beings, how they emotionally are, right?
As opposed to monkeys,
right? I can say that I like you, and I can say you're good. I can equate those two, right? because I like
Okay.
you, you are good, right? In my books,
I'll
right?
take it.
But when we're talking about I like you, I like you, which means that you are pleasing to me. You are good, a good person in my life. You are pleasing to me, right? But I can say I always say this, by the way, I like you a lot. Like a lot,
Yeah.
a lot. A lot, a
Yeah.
lot. That's far beyond good.
Yeah.
Okay? That's great and fantastic.
Right.
You are great and fantastic in my life. So yes, you are correct. I'm going to amend what I said and say yes, you can equate good with like, but it's not over the top like. It's just you're a good person.
Well, because I know at some point we wanted to do a show on the difference between love and like and how they're misused and how they're,
Mhm.
you know, mistaken for each other. That's why I just wanted to clarify slightly.
Right.
Okay. Because I know I don't want any of our friends go, all I ever hear you say is I like you. I don't ever hear you say I love you. I mean, but that like means adequate? The hell? And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. One, you're taking Drew way out of context. And two, like you said, it is different when it comes to
Well,
those
here's
emotions.
something that just struck me. When we're talking about negative, what are the words we use?
Bad, awful, um, gross, oppressive, dangerous, um, unsatisfied,
I think
unsatisfying,
I think bad is the one that we use the most,
mhm,
right? And
horrible, miserable,
yeah,
terrible.
horrible, miserable. We can go into the in-depth stuff, but I think that because bad is just bantered around,
Yeah,
it's got the not a good rap,
yeah,
right? Um, because I think that, like I said earlier, we mistake bad for horrible, really horrible or evil or any of
yeah,
that stuff. And bad has nothing to do with that. And bad has I really don't like it. It's distasteful. It's not adequate. It's
mm,
you know what I'm saying? It is the really the mellow antithesis of good, right?
right.
Because like I said, when we were talking about the spectrum, bad and good sit here. Evil and whatever word we come up with that's the fantastic or whatever it is sit over here, whereas bad and good are right in here.
Utopia.
Utopia, yeah, okay, utopic. 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 On this wonderful note, we're going to bring this to a close utopically. um we were on utopic.
Oh my god. See what I have to live with?
Get out of the way. I found her first.
Oh god.
Okay, so I think that we can say that good and bad, bad is really misconstrued as really really horrible.
Yeah.
And we equate that to that, and bad is nothing of the sort. A lot of
Yeah.
and we mistaken with bad because of our training. Because when we made
Yeah.
mistakes, we were made out as inferior beings,
Yeah.
and we felt inferior, and all of the stuff that goes along with that.
And I think it's just as simple as finding an adequate word for what you mean by bad. Like, say, pleasant, unpleasant. Unpleasant doesn't mean evil. Unpleasant doesn't necessarily mean terrible or horrible
No,
or
it was just
awful or
mildly
disgusting or
annoying,
despicable.
right?
It's just not good.
Yeah. And so
So,
you're not a bad person. You have simply made bad choices, right?
yeah.
That you could say I made undesirable choices, right? There it is. You're not a bad person. You just made undesirable choices, or you just made mistakes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we're talking about good and bad, it's really a small area, and it's not as horrific as we've made it out to be.
No,
It's
there's not the huge disparity between good and bad.
between good and bad. There's just this little line that sits in the middle of them, and it's here, right?
Yeah.
They're not the big end pieces, but we treat them like they are. And I think that's something that we got to stop doing. Understand, good is because I like it. Good is because it's moving me towards a place that I want to go. It's like if you're in traffic, traffic is flowing. You're going the speed you want to go, all of that stuff. You feel that life is good. It's going in your direction. When traffic is not, you feel life is bad or traffic is bad, or because it's not going in your direction, the way that you want to go, the speed that you want to go, people are getting in your way. And we just kind of go off the deep end on the bad level and saying, these people are bad. This traffic is bad. I wonder what these guys did bad things, whatever that is. And we go off the deep end and judge, based on that. And I think that we've got to get off the good and bad judgment and condemnational judgment that goes along with bad. And we don't really have the judgment that we have on a good level is kind of mild in comparison to how we use the judgment of bad. It's
but I think
insane.
there's more synonyms available, and we express them more, where I don't think we are using this synonyms the same way when it comes to something unpleasant or bad.
Anything.
And I think that's the thing. If you use a more appropriate term, you might get your point across better.
Well, and I think that the difference between good and bad, and like you said, the synonyms is like, we have more ways of expressing good and adequate and pleasing ideas than we do bad and ugly and bad, and like I just keep going to bad because that's the word we use. So there's less ways of expressing.
Saying someone is bad, it's like they could be immoral, they could be fiendish, they could be unsexy. I mean, there's so many different ways you could use that to describe a person and their actions. It's like we're just it's like good. We've got all these decent terms, but
so that so I don't lose this thread.
Right.
What we do is like you said, when you're angry, you tend to go to the extreme. So when you're talking about badness, you go to the absolute other extreme because you're in negative emotion. And negative emotion is so dramatic in itself. We don't use the softening things because we feel like it's horrible, right? And because we feel like it's horrible, we